So, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to continue exploring the legal context with our next speaker, and we're going to look at how we can understand better understand the EUR Lex legal analysis methodology. To do so, we welcome Juraj Kuba, who's a legal assistant at the Publications Office of the European Union. Good afternoon, Juraj.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? I hope
Yes,
it
we
works.
can. Not very loud, but we can.
Okay,
Now
very good.
that's better. Thank you.
Okay, so it's about my voice. Good afternoon. My name is Juraj Kuba. I'm from the Publications Office of the European Union. And in my presentation, I would like to inform you about the project which we started some time ago and which was aiming to transpose EUR Lex legal analysis methodology, or just shortly LAM, from a plain text into a structured data. This should help us to manage, update, and work with LAM in a more effective way. And it should also provide the basis for further movement from a human intervention to the automation of the legal analysis process. And I will answer the question whether and how is this possible at the end of my presentation. Legal analysis methodology describes the use of the metadata elements that are attributed during the legal analysis process. And the metadata attributed describe the content of the acts, detect dates, identify relations to other acts, or classify the acts by using different criteria. So we can say that the legal analysis methodology is OP's know-how on how it's open know-how in the field of cataloging of EU legal acts about the metadata that are used, about the meaning and the use of the elements, metadata elements that are attributed. Some of those metadata we are working with just their presence or not presence, or the values that are used might indicate whether the act is part of the primary law, international agreements, or secondary law. So we are coming to the hierarchy of norms in the EU law. And this is very important because the legal analysis methodology is trying to cover also this part. But okay, the metadata elements that we are using must come from somewhere, and those metadata elements are based on the legal concepts. And such legal concepts were in principle provided by the legislator. So here we have some examples from the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union, where you can see in some of the articles, it's said that legislative acts enter into force. Another case, directives and decisions should be addressed, they should be notified. It means there should be date of notification and they should take effect. Regulations have general applicability and they are binding, and recommendations or opinions have no binding force. And final example, legislative acts adopted under the ordinary legislative procedure must be signed by the President of the European Parliament and President of the Council. But not only this, there are also some internal rules when drafting EU legislation that are applied. So, for example, we know that the legal acts must be signed, but only legislative acts contain in their title the date of signature. So we are moving from those legal concepts on the left side to metadata elements that are used by the legal analysis and that are just abstract representation of those legal concepts. But this is just one direction, because on other side, those legal metadata elements are anchored in common data model, which is FRBR based ontology that is used by the Publications Office for all the resources that we are publishing. And last but not least, legal analysis methodology not only describes the metadata elements, but it also tries to describe classes of EU legal acts that are again abstractions of the tiers of hierarchy of EU legal norms. So legal analysis methodology provides selection of metadata that are determinative or suitable for every class, including cardinality and values constraints, and this is done on a very specific level. Just very shortly about the process, about the operations that are performed by the legal analysis. Everything starts somewhere here when XML representation of the document that should be published in the official journal of the European Union or on EUR Lex website is created. This contains content, HTML or PDF file, and it also contains some basic metadata that are needed just to create such XML representation. Legal analysis should classify the legal document, it should validate the metadata that are already available, and it should also enrich the notice with some additional legal data. Another step is quality control. It means verification of the completed description, what was already done. And another step in the whole process is LAM, legal analysis methodology maintenance. It means regular improvements that are motivated by daily workflow, or they might be motivated by feedback from various stakeholders, institutions, or they might be motivated by new projects that are coming, or by developments of common data model or our encoding schemas name authority list. So the whole process that I am trying to describe here is a cycle. It's a constant movement where the legal analysis methodology impacts the daily workflow and the daily workflow impacts the legal analysis methodology. Our problem before the project was that the whole legal analysis methodology was just a set of plain text, set of Word, Excel, or PDF files, and the whole process was really becoming larger. Therefore, we decided to move from a plain text into a structured data by keeping the whole content of the legal analysis methodology. It means by keeping all the descriptions of metadata elements and classes, and also by improving the maintenance phase, interactiveness of the legal analysis, or getting feedback from our stakeholders. So what we did, we started with unstructured data, and then we prepared semi-structured data. In principle, that was an Excel file. And then after doing some analysis and preparing from the technical side, we transformed this Excel file into structured LAM data expressed in SCOS. Already here, we can manage our legal analysis methodology in Workbench, and we can transform it to PDF and also to HTML that can be used for our web application. But not only this, we can transform legal analysis methodology to a formal structured data that are expressed by web ontology language, and what is most important, also into set of formal data shapes that are expressed by SHAC language, where some constraints defined by the legal analysis methodology can be also formalized. So what we achieved was that we moved from the plain text to structured data by keeping all the descriptions of the metadata elements. We formalized correspondence to the formal properties in common data model, but we also formalized correspondence to authority lists that we are using. And we formalized also constraints on how the classes are defined. It means constraints on metadata elements, for example, range, cardinality, or specific property values constraints. So, and this brings us to the question how the legal analysis methodology as a structured data can contribute to the automation of the legal analysis process. Legal analysis process is done daily, on the daily basis, and there is really big amount of documents covered by this, and everything is just a human work. So if we do not have a clear answer yet, but we know that the legal analysis methodology can enrich common data model, but also some other additional services, for example, markup. From this point of view, legal analysis might be understood as a specific extension that is applicable for the legal documents published in the official journal or on EUR Lex website. We also know that legal analysis methodology as structured data itself can provide some automatic verification and validation of the data. So we can drive the indexation process. Just one specific example. If we get a regulation of the European Parliament and the Council, the system is able to recognize, okay, this is a legislative act. And as a legislative act, it must have date of signature, it must have date of entry into force, it must have end of validity date. In the legal basis, it must have at least one link to specific article of the treaty, and it must have a link to interinstitutional procedure. Or it can't have date of effect, it can't have date of notification. What we do not know in many cases are the values, and therefore also cooperation with other services, as for example, proper markup, or probably data mining, document mining might be very helpful. So just to sum up, significant automation of the legal analysis process is only possible if a real interoperability between LAM, common data model, and some other additional services will be achieved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Juraj. Thank you very much for being sharp on time. And that gives us time for the questions that we have received. What efforts are needed to go from plain text to structured data and to finally reach automation of the legal analysis?
Well, the last term you mentioned, analysis, is needed because we started really with plenty of pages of Word documents, and it was really difficult to think about the structure, how to structure such data. So it took really a lot of time to find out the correct way for structuring of those data, and then, okay, the rest was just technical process that was managed by our external consultant. Second part of the question, and this was also the question I was trying to answer, coming to automation of the legal analysis process. Well, today, I think it was this part of today's session, there was already one presentation about drafting legislation in the era of artificial intelligence, where also some ways how the drafting of EU law can be simplified, can be adapted to the semantic web, to the artificial intelligence, can be introduced, based on also inter alia, also an accommodant also for EU. I think here we would need some cooperation with our colleagues, with different services of the European Commission, at least, or also some other institutions, just to be able to follow this process from the beginning. We hope that the legal analysis methodology as a structured data can help in this process.
Thank you. And then we have another question. At EU agencies, our processes depend much on the legal definitions in EUR Lex. Are the Article 2 definitions of the concepts there linked to their ontologies?
Well, we do not have such interlinking with EU agencies. But, okay, when speaking about starting the process from the drafting of legislation and then ending EUR Lex in the official journal of the European Union, if the whole process will have the same background, the same basis, I think we can achieve also this.
Thank you. Thanks very much for being with us today and for answering the questions that we have received. Have a nice evening and bye-bye.